Welcome to Dive In, one of Rogers Public Library's summer reading programs. We have programs, prizes, and events for all ages. You can register online at rpl.readsquared.com and stay up to date by following our hashtags, #RPLMakesWaves. My name is Dessie, and today we'll be making ocean-themed, Oceans of Possibilities pinch pots with air clay. All right. So today we're going to play with air dry clay. We're going to be making little pinch pots that look like sea creatures. Here's one, very simple. We can do that one today. Or you can do at home something more intricate like this urchin looking deal that takes a little bit more patience because of the little bumps that goes along. If you've never worked with air dry clay does not need to be heated to dry to a pretty sturdy shell. However, it is water soluble. So if you try to paint it or put anything wet in it, it'll reactivate the clay and get it soft again and then more malleable. So you have to be careful once you finished it. Either you have to cover it with Mod Podge to make it waterproof, or you just keep it as a dry little ring holder or jewelry holder or whatever floats your boat. So you could have picked up a little kit from the library that includes a bit of clay along with a couple of water balloons that you can then inflate to use as a shape while you're making your little pinch pot. You don't have to use them, of course, but you're welcome to get that little smooth finish on the inside. That'll give you that more support when you're forming your pot. And they're about this size when you blow them up, or they can get as big as this guy right here. So your choice. Alrighty. So air dry clay is very easy to work with. It's just like any other clay. The only thing is it dries out really fast. As you can see, it cracks really quickly. So we just have to have a little bit of water off to the side. Just get your hands wet and then work it into the clay to get it going a little bit better, so it will be easier for you to mold. And it's a messy business. So what we want to do is make a bowl of a form. Alrighty, and once you're about ready to go and you have sort of a bowl happening, you just hold it in one hand, whichever hand you prefer, whatever you're more comfortable with, and you'll see me probably switch hands halfway through, and you just press your thumb right in the center. All right, we make a big old hole, and then we're just gonna go around and very slowly pinch that out. Take your time. You want to get it as even as you can on the walls. You can make it as thick or as thin as you want to. But once you get about this stage is when I like to use the balloons to keep the shape to what I want and kind of smooth it all out. So here is my balloon. And we'll give it a little hat. And now that it's pretty well in there, I can sort of use the balloon to gently push that clay around it. And if you're like me and you need an extra set of hands, you get a little helper. Small little ball jar, and you stick that sucker on there. And it will hold it for you. And these are all things you can get at home. You can use a cup, whatever will help you hold that balloon steady. Okay. And then you get your hands a little bit more, a little bit wet, and you can smooth the surface of this almost all the way down. And the more water you use, the more malleable the clay is. So don't use too much because then it becomes too soft and you have to wait a long, long time for it to dry so you can decorate it. All right, so we got a pretty good shape going. And once you get to this stage is when you want to set it aside for about 15 to 20 minutes. Because I've added so much water to the clay, you can see sort of my handprints. It's very soft. If I tried to put a mark on it, it will probably not stay very well. So I'm gonna smooth all the cracks that I see. I don't know if y'all see in the video, but there's like little cracks that the clay makes. And then I'm gonna set it aside for about 15-20 minutes until it's a little bit more solid and not so tactile when you touch it, and let it dry a little bit before I start decorating it. Okay, so it's been 15 to 20 minutes. Your clay is moderately dry. In other words, you can feel that it's still a little damp, probably cold to the touch, but you are not leaving any fingerprint marks or easily lifting clay on your hands. So it's probably ready to make fun little designs into the clay. You can be as simple as this little one that I used a ballpoint pen to make the marks. So all I did is just poke all over with the pen closed, and then I opened it. And this is one of the Rogers Public Library logo pens that you can pick up at the library at any time when you come visit. And then, just poke the further holes in with the actual ballpoint. So this is what we're going to do next. You can use a variety of tools to make marks. You can scour your house for different fun pattern textures to make, and I'll show you a few. I showed you the ballpoint pen. You can use the same thing with a pencil. You can even use the eraser of the pencil to just poke, and it'll give you much bigger little circles into the clay. You can use these very inexpensive children's markers that sometimes come in the coloring kits, I believe. And they have a fun pattern on the tip of the cap that looks like a flower. I'll show it up close. You can use a disposable knife for scoring or to make marks with the teeth of the knife. You can use a straw and poke holes or just circles into your clay. You can get as creative or as simple as you like. So I'll quickly show you a couple of things you can do, and then you have free reign to be as creative and artistic as you want. So we'll start off with a very simple one with the pen. So I'm just gonna lift my clay and then just make marks in it with my pen. And you don't have to be precise. It doesn't matter how close or how deep or how shallow you make those marks, because it will just give you a fun texture as you go. Again, they don't have to be symmetrical either, because nothing in nature really usually is. So once you get going, you'll get a texture happening sort of like that. It looks like a very, very pretty sea creature. And then to give it even more texture, I opened up the pen and I'm going to poke additional holes right in the center of those original circles. And it'll give us even more fun texture happening. All right, so this is what it looks like when that's done. If you want to get more creative, you can make fun barnacles. I have a little bit of a clay here off to the side, just a little piece. I set that aside from the clay I had when I started off with, or if you have some, more at home, you can have a lot of fun with it. So I'm just making a very simple disc. Nothing fancy, as easy as you can be. And I'll take my children's marker and dip it in a little bit of water just to get it wet so that it will not stick to the clay. And then just poke it right in the center of that disc. And very carefully pull it off. And I have a nice little flower barnacle that I can attach to my pot. To attach them to the pot, The best way to do that is you need to score your clay just a little bit. It'll stick on its own, but not very well. So you do want to score your clay, and you just take your disposable knife that's got the little serrated teeth on it, and just give it a nice little texture. And then you can pop that barnacle right there. And it's starting to look more like a sea creature, and you can make as many as you like. You can add seashells if you want to, anything. To get the ridges that I had on this little urchin, you just get a little bit of piece of clay, some water, and you can just turn it into a noodle. And then in order to attach it, you just want to get a little bit of water along the side of one end and then lay it over and gently press it down so it'll attach, and then smooth your edges again with a little bit more water, and they will stick on there and stay. There's an edge right there for you. That's starting to look like that sea urchin that I have. You can also make these fancy little ridges that I have on this guy with a little bit of clay paste. So I'll show you really quickly how to make that at home. And I'm going to use our bag that your kit came in to do that. And it's essentially like piping icing on cookies. You're going to make a clay paste with a little bit of clay and some water. I'm going to break it up and add some water to it. The straw comes in handy. Okay, so when it's about the soft and butter consistency that you like to put on your toast, so it looks like thicker paste, I'm going to collect it all on my knife. Messy business. You might want to wear an apron or an old t-shirt or have a towel on hand to wipe your hands on, because as you can see, my hands are covered. And here's our bag. And if you've ever piped any cookies whatsoever, all you want to do is just get that paste into a corner of your piping bag. And I have very little paste here. We don't need a lot, and we need to poke a hole in it. And I have a tool here off to the side. You can have scissors, whichever. I'm just gonna literally make a small little hole and then move these guys over closer. And then we're just going to gently squeeze and make little dots. And because the paste is the consistency of piping icing, you can create a very easy lift to make it pointy. You can be as pointy as that guy turned out. And you can decorate it however you want. It's turning exceptionally spiky. And here's what they look like a little bit closer up. Now I've introduced a lot more water to this clay, especially to the piping portion of it. Once you're done decorating your whole pot and you're happy with how it looks like, you need to set it aside somewhere safe. And if you have pets, away from pets, and let it dry. Air dry clay can take up to 3 days to dry. If you choose to do the little ridges, it'll take a little bit longer. They're more delicate and they have a lot more water in them, so they'll be easily destroyed if you move them around. So put them aside, set them aside for 2 to 3 days, let it dry completely. It'll turn completely white, just like the inside of this, although some of the paint comes through, but it will be clear white, and then you'll know your pot's good and dry. Once that happens, you can paint it. You can treat it so that it's a little bit more water resistant. Again, I mentioned Mod Podge in the very beginning of the video. You can do that. You can do that also with lacquer, whatever you like. I've used just regular craft acrylic paint to paint these guys. And you can get acrylic paint from Walmart. We've given away acrylic paint in some of our other DIYs in the past. So just whatever you have around the house, whatever color you prefer, you just paint it. If you're going to use acrylic without treating it previously with Mod Podge, just remember the air dry clay is very porous, so it will absorb your acrylic very quickly. You also might get some smudging. If you look very closely, you'll see that some of my marks have blended in, and that's because I wasn't quick enough with my paint. It activated the clay and it ruined some of the sharper edges. Sometimes that creates even more fun texture, so whatever you like, you just go with it. Once you've painted it, you let it dry, and then it's good to go. You do whatever you would like with your brand new fun sea creature pinch pot. So you successfully have made yourself a sea creature pinch pot. I would like to welcome you to check out this Pinch Your Pottery book that you can find at your local library. If you'd like to learn more about additional projects you can do with clay. The book talks about different types of clay. It has some fun projects, so you can learn a lot more than what we can teach you in this very, very short DIY video. You can check it out at your local library, and if you have a hard time finding it, come and ask one of your librarians. We'll be happy to help. Thank you for joining us for Dive In as we celebrate Oceans of Possibilities. You can join our summer reading program by visiting rpl.readsquared.com. We hope to see you this summer at RPL. Thank you.